Welcome to the Heart of a Viking. This channel offers elementary art lessons taught by Mrs. Minto from the Cape Henlopen School District in Delaware. I look forward to virtually creating with you. There are new lessons posted weekly. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss a single one. So go grab your art supplies and your thinking caps and let's begin. Welcome back, 5th graders. Well, today we are going to be experiencing a Notan. That's a type of artwork that's been around for a long time. That is a really cool experience and exercise for your mind and your eyes. So I'm really excited for you to try this. In addition to this, I've linked below in the description some optical illusions for you to go and look at because, hey, why not give our eyes and our mind some more practice and some more exercise? All right, so once you've looked at all of those really cool optical illusions, come on back here and we'll learn about a Notan and we'll learn about how we're going to be creating it using contrast today. Okay, so what is a Notan? It's a term that refers to the Japanese idea of balanced light and dark areas in a composition. One of the most familiar symbols that you might have seen is the yin-yang. So from the Eastern philosophy, it's a round image with interconnected teardrop-like shapes. One is black and one is white. This is a great example of contrast, and contrast is the difference between a light and a dark area. So a Notan is the idea that the elements of the dark and the light are equally as important, and they need each other to exist. You can't have negative space without positive space and vice versa. So in these two examples on this page at the bottom, you'll see that spaces that look the same actually are different colored, whether they are in the middle of the work of art or on the outside edges, or on the left side or on the right side. So just really stare at these two works of art and look at the differences and the similarities between the black shapes and the white shapes. This is another example of a Notan, and this one is most similar to what you and I are going to challenge ourselves to learn about today and to actually try and experience. So this is an example of a Notan where the original artist had a square piece of black paper. You can kind of see the edges of the square, and they cut shapes from the square and flipped them out. So instead of leaving the shapes in, like you would put a puzzle together, like putting the puzzle pieces in their places, the artist flipped the puzzle pieces out, so they're opposite. So the wavy lines that are in the original square are black wavy lines outside the square. So this is a really cool example of that yin-yang, the balancing of the white and the black, and contrast. So all you need for this piece of artwork is a black piece of paper, a light colored paper, doesn't even have to be white. I'm going to use light pink today. So something dark, something light, a pencil, a glue stick, and a pair of scissors. All right, grab your supplies and come on back and we'll get started. Hey, welcome back, Cape artists. Let's begin our Notan. Okay, so this Notan is going to start with a small piece of dark paper. I have a black one here, and I have mine cut to a 6 by 6 inch square. And then we need a larger, lighter colored paper. So I chose light pink this time, and it needs to be bigger. So actually like a 12 by 12 would be fantastic. I don't have that size here in the art room, so I'm just going to go with my normal 9 by 12 inch construction paper, but any size would work as long as it's larger than your original small dark piece of paper. And if you wanted to flip-flop these colors and have a large dark paper and a smaller light paper, that would work too. Alright, so let's begin by drawing some lines and some shapes on the edges of our black piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to start on one of the edges, and I'm going to be making kind of like a triangle. I'm going to give it a little bit of a curve like a horn, but it's going to be a triangle that starts on the edge, goes up, and comes back down to the edge. Now there's a couple of rules here. Every time you draw a new shape, it cannot touch the original shape or the one that came before it. Second, every shape has to start and end on the same side, so I always start and end on this bottom side down here. And the tallest shapes cannot come anywhere past halfway. So if you notice my tallest sort of horn shapes here, they don't go above halfway up my black paper. Now I'm ready to turn my paper. So now I have a new challenge. On this side, I have to make sure that these shapes don't touch the first ones. They can go around them like that, that's super cool, but they can't touch the original shapes from the other side. And of course, there needs to be space between each one of these. Now, you can draw any kinds of shapes you want. You can draw like a half of a heart shape. You can draw triangle shapes, square, rectangle, flames, whatever kind of shapes you want. But you want to make sure they start on one side of your paper, one of the edges, and they continue until they come back to that same edge. Okay, so I'm going to finish up working my way around mine, and I'd like for you to do the same on yours. Okay, so next we're going to cut each of those shapes out and make kind of like a little shape pile. This reminds me so much of a puzzle. So as I'm cutting these shapes, I'm going to be making a little pile of all of the shapes in a, right here on my pink piece of paper. Now, there are some very important rules with the cutting. You have to make sure that they come out in one whole piece. So every shape that I cut out, I have to keep working on it until it falls out as one whole piece. Second, there's no scraps. So therefore, you can't do any trimming or extra cutting to make anything look smoother or better or flatter or whatever. It has to come out as one whole piece, okay? Second, the piece that I'm cutting from, that original square piece of paper, is not scraps. It is part of this project. So I cannot cut off anything unless it is one of my shapes that I drew. So like right here, I had to be so delicate that I didn't rip through. There is not much paper between where I just cut off that point from the other edge from the other shape. So I had to be super careful. Now, this next part is kind of a tip, not necessarily a rule. Did you notice that how I'm cutting here? I'm cutting on the outside edge of my white lines because I want that original square to have as little white drawing pencil lead as possible. I want it to look as clean as possible. I don't mind if the white pencil lead is on the shapes. That's where I want it to be. So I, on purpose, am cutting on the outside edge of all of these shapes to assure that my original black square has as little white lead as possible. Okay? So, no trimming. Make sure they fall out as one whole piece. And if you want to do what I'm doing and cut on the outside edge of the white line or the pencil line or whatever color line you made, that will be better in the end, and you'll see why shortly. Okay, I'm going to finish cutting mine. You start cutting yours. Okay, so now I have my shape pile. I'm just going to move it to the table off my paper here. And I have my original black square. Doesn't that look cool even just by itself? All right, so I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to flip this guy over so I can see a couple white pencil marks, no problem. So I'm going to flip this over to what was the back before, and kind of quickly, because this glue dries fast, I'm going to put a little glue up each of the little black pieces of paper that's left over from my cutting step. And then flip it over, press it down gently from this side, and then flip the whole thing over and press it really good from the opposite side. This way your fingers don't get caught on the little pieces of black paper and rip it. Now, this next part, again, I'd like for you to watch and then do it after I'm done. Okay, so with the white pencil-y side up, I'd like for you to put the little piece back in like you're making a puzzle when you're putting the puzzle back together. Once you have the piece in with the white side up, you're going to put glue on the top. I know that seems weird, but you're putting glue on the top, because what you're going to do then is you're going to flip the little piece out like you're opening the page of a book. You're going to flip the little piece out and you're going to line up the long flat edge of the shape with the flat edge of the original square. Okay, So then you're going to push that down, flip your paper over, and press it down really good from the opposite side. Okay, let's try another one. So I picked up my next piece. It's my little half circle here. It fits right in there. Okay, that's the top with the white mark. I put the glue right on this side, right on the top. Then I flip it out like I am opening the page of a book. There we go, flipping it out, stuck to my finger, no problem. I line up the flat edge of the original circle with the flat edge of my paper, press it down, and then flip my paper over and press it from the opposite side. It is extremely important that you do that for every single piece. You pick one up, you find out where it works, where it doesn't work maybe, there we go. Find out where it works, lay it in there with the white line up, put the glue on the top, flip it out, and stick it down. Now, if you're like me and your pages are about the same size as mine, you're going to have some pieces that stick out beyond the paper. Not a problem. It's fine. It happens to all of us. Now, that wouldn't happen if my black paper was exactly half the size of my pink paper. So if I did have one of those 12 by 12 inch pink papers, that would be perfect. Okay, so here we go. Square one, or rectangle one, sorry. I'm going to put it in, put the glue on top, flip it out like I'm opening the page of a book. Then line up those flat edges, and that looks fantastic. Now I'm just going to keep going one at a time, literally taking my time as I go. Now, if you are like us here at school, time has run out. So our special time is over now, and it's time for us to clean up, and we'll have to finish this on a second day. So I'm going to take all of my little pieces that I have left, my little puzzle pieces, lay them on top of my project, and place this in a safe place, somewhere where no one else is going to bother it, maybe on a high shelf or in a location where nobody else is going to mess with it, so that when you come back next week, we can talk about some challenges that you can accept and some ways to finish it. Okay, I'll see you back here next week at the Heart of a Viking.